Hello everybody, this is Nye from DoSpace, and today this will be the history of Windows. And this presentation will be available to you on PDF on DoSpace. So let's get started. What exactly is Windows? Microsoft Windows is a family of operating systems. Today we're going to look at the history of Microsoft Windows operating systems, or the Windows OS, or PC to be simple, from 1985 to today. The Windows operating system for desktop PCs are formerly called Microsoft Windows, and is actually a family of operating systems for personal computers. Currently, Windows dominates the personal computer world, running, by some estimates, more than 90% of all personal computers, with the remaining running Linux and Mac operating systems. Windows provides a graphical user interface, or GUI, visual memory management, multitasking, and support for many plethora devices. In addition to Windows operating systems for personal computers, it also offers operating systems for servers and mobile devices. And as you can see in this image here, it shows Windows is shown to be the dominant market above all of the other OSs at the moment. Now, how did this all started? Well, we're going to have to go further in time, back to 1981, when it was first called MS-DOS, or Microsoft Disk Operating System. This was originally developed by Microsoft for IBM, but soon the MS-DOS was the standard. IBM still used it, and this became the standard operating system for their IBM compatible computers. The initial versions of DOS were very simple, and they resembled another program called CP/M, and subsequent versions have become increasingly sophisticated as they incorporated features of mini computer operating systems. And now, the first Windows, which is Windows 1.0 in 1985. Initially, Windows was little more than operating environment for add-on for DOS. MS-DOS exclusive was another name of its that fell by the wayside, but it more accurately describes the user-friendly addition to computing. Microsoft had worked on the early Apple computers prior to the Macs on their desktop accessories, and much of the Windows look was licensed from Apple. There could be no overlapping of windows, so tilting was used to put them side by side instead, and there was no trash can either, as implemented in the Apple OS. Despite the addition of some familiar faces in the shape of calculator, calendar, card file, clipboard viewer, clock, control panel, notepad, paint, reverse eye, terminal, and the word processor, there was no great popularity for the system. Of course, it is 1985, so this was during a time when computers were starting to come into its own. Unlike today, if you got a computer in 1985, people will kind of look at you like, oh, what's the point? Basically. So in 1997 was Windows 2.0. And this was released 2 years after Windows 1, replacing it officially. The big innovation for Windows 2 was Windows 1 could overlap each other, and it also introduced the ability to minimize or maximize windows instead of iconing or zooming. The control panel, where various systems and configuration options were collected together in one place, was introduced in Windows 7 and still being used to this day. And also, when Microsoft Word and Excel made their debut running on Windows 2. Now, going into the 90s, we are introduced to Windows 3.0, Windows 3.1, and Windows 3.11. Windows 3.0 was the first successful system for Microsoft in the commercial sense. The computer had completely rewritten critical operations in assembly rather than C, making them lighter and faster, and the introduction of virtual memory and VGA cards meant a more proficient, more powerful, and more graphical capable platform. Visual memory was able to trick applications into thinking that they were using large blocks of address space when it was actually fragmented and often spilled into the storage disk rather than just using the RAM. It meant that Windows could successfully run more programs at once, which is what we are currently doing today. The system was also flexible at the same time, meaning that if you would rather offer applications the protection of running one block, then you block them, you could automatically assign specific space for that too. Windows 3.0 sold 10 million copies in the first 6 months, rising to 10 million over the next 18. Now, Windows 3.1 was released in reaction to IBM's OS-2 2.0 operating system that had initially been a joint venture with Microsoft. It contained the same bugs and multimedia support. By the time Windows 3.11 came out, Microsoft made sure they'd seen off the threat of IBM, and Windows had gone 32-bit. And over the same period, Microsoft has been added to more and more Apple-y features to their OS until the former employer sued the company under 189 charges relating to the Apple look and feel of Windows. Of those charges, 179 were dismissed, and the last 10 were deemed ideas that were simply uncopyrightable. Now, in the next video, we will go over the history of Windows in the 90s. So this is Naya from DoSpace. Talk to you then.